Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 754, April 17th, 2019, Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, this is the day that I take out the trash and have me some chicken. Every Wednesday from now on, I'll be taking out the trash and having some chicken. Okay, let's see. I want to start off today with talking about this article from Margo Cleveland at the Federalist. And of course, a lot of articles from Margo Cleveland. She does a fantastic job. I think she's has a legal background based on the types of things that she writes about. A lot of her stories are in my timeline. She doesn't do a lot of stories, but when she does, I read them. Because she's not one of these people who tries to put out a story every day just to stay relevant. She's someone who, when she has a real something important to say, she writes a story. So I read them. This one here would fall in that category. Very important story. Nothing that's particularly new here. Again, it's just going back and looking at things in the past. We have a different perspective now that we're at a different place here than what we did a year ago or 6 months ago. And we have more information, so things begin to, it's like dot connecting. And so she's connecting some dots here and tying some things together that I think are really important to the story and understanding the story and getting to the bottom of things. But more importantly, it I think it's just more damaging, massively damaging evidence to a second-tier group of people that really have not been talked much about. And it was mentioned briefly. I can't remember what it was in respect to, but we learned about 2 weeks ago that there were 40 FBI agents who were working for the Mueller probe. Now, these exact same 40 FBI agents that were working for the Mueller probe prior to Mueller were working on Operation Crossfire Hurricane. They simply transferred these 40 FBI agents from Crossfire Hurricane, like the entire investigation, over to Mueller. And so when we talk about the Gang of Eight or the small group, I guess is the group we're referring to, Comey and this group of 80 put together to control all the things that they were doing. As I have said many times before, there's a second and probably third tier of people who maybe whose names we don't talk about, but are involved in this frame-up, Spygate. And I think that as we move forward, I think that we're going to start learning more about these second and even third tier people. And so this story really shines a light on this second tier group of people, these 40 FBI agents, and what role they play. Excuse me. But also, this story that she writes here points out another obvious big fat lie by the FBI and the DOJ. This is one of these that is clearly black and white. It's not the type of lie that they can say, oh, well, it's gray area and we meant this, or, well, if you take this into consideration, then it's a different looking sort of statement. No, this is a black and white lie that Margo Cleveland has caught the DOJ and the FBI in. And it's a little tricky because the players involved here are FBI, DOJ, Christopher Steele, and Glenn Simpson, and we have to decide who's telling the truth. And that's kind of tough, isn't it? Because any of these people and all these people are liars. But if you go back and look at the evidence and you look at what we know now that we didn't know when these guys were testifying, which is the problem a lot of these people have. They testified in hearings and to the DOJ and to Horowitz and all these other people many, many months and over a year ago in some cases. And now we have all this information that has come out, and you can clearly see that their testimonies cannot possibly be true. So this is Margo Cleveland dialing in, drilling down on the testimonies of Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele, as compared to testimony from FBI people and people who were later, who were part of Operation Crossfire, then went to the Mueller investigation. And here we can see clear black and white, not even close, black and white contrast, difference, extreme difference in the statements made. They're lies. Somebody's lying. So let's go through some of these things highlighted from the article. Here we go. So Margo Cleveland in the Federalist writes this article on how and why the investigation into Chrissy Steele was dropped. So in January of 2018, Lindsey Graham and Chuck Grassley sent a criminal referral on Chrissy Steele. Many of you probably remember that. But no investigation was ever done. Why? Now we're going to find out why. Grassley and Graham sent the referral because testimony by Glenn Simpson and Steele did not line up with testimony given by the DOJ and FBI officials in regards to when Steele was fired by the FBI and why he was fired. In late 2017 and early 2018, FBI officials were saying that they were not aware that Steele was shopping the dossier to the media, and they also were claiming that Steele never told them. However, Glenn Simpson and later Steele himself were telling a different story. According to Simpson and Steele, the FBI was fully aware that Steele was shopping the dossier and was even briefing the media. So, Graham and Grassley knew someone was lying. It was the FBI. We know that now. Rodenstein, and of course Graham and Grassley knew that as well. Rodenstein is the one who received the criminal referral from Grassley and Graham. But instead of investigating the possible crime, the Mueller team used the referral as a shield to ward off FOIA requests to protect the evidence that would incriminate them. Mueller and the FBI is who I'm talking about. Remember, the 40 FBI agents that Mueller used were the exact same 40 agents that were part of the frame-up. They were the 40 agents that were working on Operation Crossfire Hurricane, and when Mueller came, Mueller was announced as a special counsel, these exact 40 FBI guys moved over to his investigative team. Now, these are the same exact agents that lied to the FISA court, whiffed on the Woods procedure, claimed the dossier was not shopped, and lied about the credibility of the dossier and of Christopher Steele, who they tell us is the author. He is not. So, would the FBI agents who helped create the dossier investigate the guy they used to pipeline the dossier back into the FBI and the State Department and the media? Of course not. And if they would have actually done this investigation, it would have proved that the FBI was lying. So, they used the criminal referral, as a shield to block FOIAs and to argue against a public disclosure of the Comey memos. And that's basically what they used that criminal referral for, instead of actually doing the investigation, because, as I just said, had they done the investigation on themselves, they would have had to prove that they, themselves, lied about all these things, and specifically what they lied about here in this particular case is whether or not they knew that Steele was talking to the media, giving interviews to the media, and trying to pass the dossier off to the media. So this is really where they're caught in a direct lie, because here you have Simpson and Steele both saying, oh yeah, the FBI was totally aware that Christopher Steele was talking to the media, giving them information from these Steele memos, which will later become the Steele dossier. The FBI was totally aware of it. And, of course, the FBI, when they were asked about it, and DOJ, people interviewed by Horowitz or by the Congress, said, no, we had no idea that Steele was shopping the dossier, passing along to the media. And when we did find out, we fired him. This is their story. But, of course, we now know it's complete bullshit. Because we know from Bruce Orr, who had been meeting with the FBI, with the DOJ, and through his handler at the FBI, that he clearly told them that Steele was in town A couple of times he flew from London back to the States. He briefed large groups of reporters, not just one at a time. The first time he came here, Simpson got booked like a banquet room in a hotel, and there was like 20 media people there. And Steele comes in with his friend, some other British guy, and he's literally taking questions from these people in the media. And the purpose of it was to try to get them to run the stories using information from the memos, which would later become the dossier. But they still never could, because whenever they got to the point to actually asking Steele for something that they could use to confirm all this information, he could never really give them anything. So we know that Bruce Orr was telling the FBI all about this, and that they knew for a fact that Christopher Steele absolutely was speaking to the media, passing information to the media. He was coordinating with Glenn Simpson as a source. So Glenn Simpson would go to the media, go to somebody and give them some information. They would be trying to back it up. And the only thing that Simpson could do is say, well, here's my source, Steele. Well, they would call Steele or communicate with Steele. And of course, he'd say, well, I can't really tell you my sources. So they could never run the dossier. But everybody knew, the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, everybody knew that Christopher Steele was absolutely passing the dossier around. They knew it. And they lied about it. And they had no choice but to lie about it. Really. And then we find out later, much after all these interviews have been done with these people, that Bruce Orr was telling them, hey, you better, check this guy out. I mean, he's totally anti-Trump. He's working for Hillary Clinton. He's been paid by Fusion GPS and Hillary Clinton. His stuff may not be right. You may want to check into it. He's talking to the media and all this. And then once the FBI realizes that they no longer have control of the situation, that now it's obvious, everybody knows that he's passing this stuff around to the media, they have no choice but to reluctantly fire Steele. So they reluctantly fire Steele, at least on the surface. But then they turn around just a couple of weeks later and they call in Bruce Orr, and they have a meeting at the DOJ, and a lot of high-level people are there, and they say, hey, we want to try to, reconnect with Christopher Steele. We had to fire him because he was leaking to the media, but we really still need to understand more about his sources, and we need to get more information on the dossier and all this kind of stuff. So everybody was quite aware of everything that was going on here, totally aware, as a matter of fact, of everything. The FBI was totally aware of the whole time that he was spreading this stuff to the media, that he was interviewing with the media. This entire thing has now been completely uncovered. There's absolutely no question about any of this, and this is, again, a hardcore lie. And again, this particular case, we have Bruce Orr, Christopher Steele, and Glenn Simpson, in this instance, are telling the truth. There's no question about that, because now we have all this information that we did not have a year ago. So this is another clear-cut lie, and it's going to be a very, very difficult one for Comey and Lynch and Yates and Strzok and Page and Brennan and all the rest. Going to be very, very nearly impossible, I think, for them to try to get themselves out of this lie. They have matter-of-factly stated in testimony under oath that they did not know that Christopher Steele was spreading this information around, when in fact they absolutely did know it. And they're basically caught red-handed here in a big fat lie. One of many. But the important thing here is not just that. Obviously, it's important that they're caught in the lie. This is just one of many cases of lying to Congress, or lying to the IG, or lying to the FBI, or whatever, that they're going to have to deal with. But it's why they lied. Why they lied so blatantly. What was it they were trying to protect? Why were they trying to protect it? What was it? And that is where you really want to dig, right there. Now, I think most of us can figure that out, but obviously it's a question that they're going to have a very difficult time answering, because they're certainly caught in the lie. There's no question about that. Whether it's Horowitz or Barr or some prosecutor or a grand jury or Congress or whoever, this is a no-brainer. This is a black and white, check the box, it's a lie. We caught you lying. You're just caught, period. Now, why were you lying? Why were you trying to protect this information? So this particular lie is going to lead to a series of questions that will be follow-up questions to the lie. Once they're forced to admit they in fact were lying, then it's going to lead to a series of follow-up questions that are going to begin to unravel the fact and prove the fact that this counterintelligence, so-called counterintelligence operation was going on long before July 31st. It's going to prove that they knew that it was not above board and it wasn't legit. Otherwise, they would have no problem with admitting what they were doing. They say, hey, Christopher Steele is a source. He's a former MI6 agent. We totally trust this guy. We'll go right out and proudly claim that he's our source and this and that and the other thing. For whatever reason, they wanted to hide the identity of Christopher Steele. His name did not come out because they wanted it to. In fact, he probably was told that that his name would never come out, that he would be protected source. So certainly the FBI was trying to protect a source, but not because there was some secret operation going on or whatever that was about national security. No, they were trying to protect him because he was so compromised. And so this particular lie right here, which is a proven hardcore lie, no question about it. There's not even any, Grassley and Graham knew when they sent that letter. If you remember, we talked about it here. Grassley and Graham sent a letter, hey, you better investigate Steele because it appears that he may have lied. That's exactly how they worded the letter. Hey, we got Steele's testimony, and it appears it doesn't wash with yours, so you better investigate Christopher Steele because it appeared that he lied to you. Now, Graham and Grassley knew when they wrote the letter that it wasn't Steele who lied. They knew it was the FBI that lied. They just wanted to see how the FBI would react to it. And of course, we saw how they reacted to it. They simply didn't investigate it. Rather, what they did is they used it as a shield to keep from having to release information, Comey memos, and also to block FOIA requests. So here they are caught in another lie, and this particular lie, once the lie is admitted, and they'll have to admit the lie because they're caught. I mean, they're caught. This is no question here. They are caught, okay? So they can't, flip this. They got to admit that they lied. And then it's the series of follow-up questions that are going to happen after they have to admit that they lied, which is where they're going to be hanged. Just one of many places where they're going to be hanged. There's so many places in this particular story where they screwed up and lied or whatever. There's so many different ways that these people are going to be hanged that, this is just one of many. But very well done, Margo Cleveland. Again, good article if you want to check it out for yourself. It's at the Federalist, Margo Cleveland and the Federalist. Check it out. Now, let's see here. Oh, yes, we had Trump retweets. We had a Trump retweet today of the Andy McCarthy article that we talked about, where the article is at the, I believe I think it's at the American Spectator. I forget now because he writes on a couple different sites. But anyway, the title of the article is, "There is no doubt that the Obama administration spied on the Trump campaign." There is no doubt that the Obama administration spied on the Trump campaign. And that was the article written by Andy McCarthy, and Trump, of course, retweeted that today. Pretty good article. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Here's a follow-up on CNN. They are in complete freefall. It's now been 3 weeks since the Mueller report came out, and the ratings continue to fall. Last check, they are now behind the Discovery Channel, the Food Network, TLC, and the A&E Network. They're literally about as low as you can go. They don't even have 1 million viewers watching any CNN show anymore. They're lucky to get 500,000 views right now. Literally, that is how bad it is at CNN. This story has literally destroyed that network. Oh, it's not over. Because as I've been saying, when we get to the bottom of this Spygate fiasco, we're going to find that CNN wasn't just duped by a lot of fake news and fake classified information. No. They were partners with CIA, with the FBI, knowing good and well that they were running classified information purposely leaked to harm Trump or to control the narrative, which was a lie. They are up to their eyeballs in crime and falling ratings. Well, it looks like Jussie has just lost his lead role in a Broadway show that he's already been slated to be the lead character in. It looks like they've pulled him. Jussie will not be in this Broadway play. It's called Take Me Out. Now, apparently this play has already won Tony Awards. It's been a play that's been done many times before. It always wins a lot of awards. It's apparently a very big play. I don't know. I don't really go to plays. But apparently this was a big play. award-winning play, and he was going to be doing the newest version of it. He was going to be the leading role. He's now been taken out of that position. He will not be the lead role, or any role for that matter, in this Broadway show, Take Me Out. Looks like they took him out. Oh, and by the way, the Chicago Police Department wants their $130,000. Okay, so more on Grassley and Graham, since we're in that ballpark. Grassley and Graham have sent Attorney General Barr a letter advising them that the Department of Justice can no longer use the Mueller probe as an excuse to dodge questions on the Rotten Reverend Clinton's email investigation. Oh yeah. See, in addition to everything else that Uncle Bob's been protecting, information that would prove who was behind the Spygate conspiracy, they've also been keeping away from prying eyes like ours and Judicial Watch and others, documents and witnesses regarding the Clinton email investigation. And they've been using Uncle Bob as the shield now in his investigation. But now, since the Mueller probe is over, just as I have been saying for months and months, once the investigation's over, Mueller is no longer protecting the evidence. Then we'll be able to actually see the evidence that will point out who actually was the criminals. But they've also been using the Mueller investigation to block people trying to get information on the Rotten Reverend Clinton. Mainly, it's been Judicial Watch that's been running into that problem. But that problem is going to be going away because Graham and Grassley just reminded Barr that those people at the DOJ that are blocking their request for documents and witnesses, doing so, the fact that it's an ongoing investigation or whatever, they were talking about the Mueller probe, well, it's ended. It's over, and now they want them documents. Well, what do you know? What do you know? The Gateway Pundit is reporting that an intelligence analyst has determined that Chrissy Steele did not write the dossier. More likely, it was Baumgartner or Nellie Orr who wrote it. Too many anomalies. Well, I didn't really need a handwriting expert or an intelligence expert to analyze the grammar or the story or the language or the punctuation or any of that kind of stuff in the dossier. I read the damn thing myself. I read it here on a TowerGate video. I read it a bunch of times. I've also been following this story for a long time, and as most of you know, I've been saying for, well, geez, more than a year and a half probably, since pretty early on, that Christopher Steele was not the author of the dossier. He was merely the salesman. He was the guy who they had to give it to have credibility so that he could pump it into the State Department, the FBI, the media, and everywhere else. You see, this was created by the CIA working with Confusion GPS and Nellie Orr. And so they created it, and then they had to give it to Steele so he could give it to the FBI. Because you couldn't have the Rotten Reverend Clinton walk up and personally give it to the FBI, nor could you have John Brennan walk up and personally give it to the FBI if they wanted to make it look like it was foreign intelligence coming from another source. So that's really the purpose that Christopher Steele served. He was laundering intelligence, not creating it. He didn't manufacture anything. He didn't write anything. And Baumgartner, and it's as I've said for probably a couple months now, if you go back and look at the stories that Glenn Simpson and his wife, Mary Jacoby, were writing back 10 years ago in 2007, 12 years now, back in 2007, they were writing a series of articles, and they are literally the blueprint for what is the dossier. The only thing they did was change a few names, change a few dates, and then add some other tidbits to it to spice it up a bit and perk it up a bit and bring it up to date. That's really all they did. And the persons that they most likely used to assist them in doing this was Nellie Orr and Mr. Baumgartner. And that's likely the four people who primarily wrote the dossier. Glenn Simpson, his wife Mary Jacoby, Nellie Orr, and Mr. Baumgartner. They pretty much wrote the dossier. That's who wrote the dossier. Christopher Steele was a launderer. He laundered the intelligence and pipelined it in the State Department and the FBI. That's how that went down. Thank you very much. Uh-oh. Looks like the feud between Nancy and Ocasio-Cortez has gone public. Pelosi's probably getting sick of it. She's had enough of it. I don't blame her. So Madame Botox was giving a speech in London this past Monday, and she said that the party, her party, the Demo-Commie Party, must move to the center. I'm hearing applause out there. I know I am. She said that a glass of water with a D on it could have won Cortez's district. A glass of water with a D on it could have won AOC's district. She says that far-left policies like free health care, free college tuition, higher minimum wage, the Green New Deal are a menace to the party. They're a menace to the party. What is she saying? Ocasio-Cortez and Omar and what's the other nut woman's name? And a half a dozen of the other ones. They're a menace to the party. Make no mistake about it, my friends. The DNC, the DCCC, and all the other powerful forces in the corporate Democratic Party are going to be working double overtime to make sure a lot of these freshman crazies who got elected in the midterms are going to be challenged by some powerful Democrat with a lot of money. They're going to try to knock Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and this other crazy Arab woman from Michigan. They're going to try to knock all three of these out. Absolutely. Top three for sure. That's the top three targets of the Democrats. They don't even care if they're not worried about losing a seat to a Republican because, as Nancy just said, these are all districts that no Republican would ever win in. These are 100% Democrat districts. They just have to get rid of Ocasio-Cortez and her band of socialist idiots. And that's exactly what they're going to do. I'd be willing to bet 90% that Ocasio-Cortez will be a one-term congressman. They're going to roll her out as fast as they possibly can. And Madame Botox is going to make sure of it. Well, we have the multimillionaire Bernie, who only donated 1% of his income to charity. Hell of a nice guy, eh? I donate more than 1% of my income to charity. I'm definitely not a millionaire. Hey, here's something you probably didn't know. Did you know that there are ads, television advertisements, being run in these Latin American countries, telling them to come to the U.S., and even telling them how to do it, and telling them what great benefits are waiting for them here? That's the first I've heard of that. So yeah, no wonder they're coming by the gazillions. They're running television ads, running TV ads in these Latin American countries, and hey, you need to go to the U.S. That's right, just bring a kid along with you and you'll get in for free. And then you'll be on government welfare, you'll be getting housing, you'll be getting free legal advice, you'll be getting this, you'll be getting that. You get it all. Head to the U.S. That's where the action is. That's right, they're literally running television ads in these Latin American countries, advising these people to come here and telling them why it's such a good idea, what's waiting for them here, and how to go about it. Oh my God. Who do you think's behind that, Mr. Soros? Alrighty. So in these last 5 minutes, I just want to get all of our brains buzzing here a little bit. More of me asking a question to the forum. Obviously, I'll kind of answer it on my own, but it's not just for me to tell you what I think. This is a question I want you all to explore yourself when I ask this question. And I think I've asked this question before. I want to drill down just a little bit on it, but I kind of want you guys to kind of think about this as well, because I think it's a very deep question. Okay, so my question is, why did William Barr accept or even want the job of Attorney General? Let's think about this for just a second. This is a guy who's pretty much, on paper, looks very deep state. Worked as a lawyer for the Central Intelligence Agency. Was an attorney general already back during the Bush 41 administration. He's nearly 70 years old. He's very wealthy. He's pretty much could be retired. Doesn't need the money. So why did William Barr take this job? I mean, he knew what he was walking into. He knew he was walking right in to a hotly contested Mueller probe, which is all kinds of political. He knew he was also walking into this the other side of the coin, the Spygate, which all these Republicans and all these other people have been doing these investigations, and they want, all this information is coming out, and they're going to want investigations. I mean, why would William Barr, a man who's financially independent, and even if he wanted to keep working, he could make a hell of a lot more money in the private sector as one of the top lawyers in Washington than he's going to make as Attorney General. Why would he want to subject himself to all this abuse by both parties? In the Mueller probe, he walks in and brings the Mueller probe to a conclusion. He's got the Democrats all over him. If he doesn't move and bring prosecutions against people that in this so-called Spygate scandal, he has the Republicans hating on him. And in the middle of all that, he's dealing with just the general chaos of constantly the immigration issues that are constantly being back and forth through the legal system and the courts. He knows he's going to have to take a position on that. That's not someplace you want to be. That's a real divisive issue right now. And on top of everything else, he just saw what it was like for Jeff Sessions. Trump tweets out every day what he thinks about you. Why would William Barr want to subject himself to being the target of Trump tweets? Why would William Barr, a guy who's financially independent, who's already been Attorney General, he doesn't need to pad his resume, he's well over retirement age, there's no need for him to have taken on this job. So why did he? If you were in his position, would you have taken this job? I wouldn't have. I mean, you know that as soon as you take the job, you are immediately going to come under attack from the Democrats. They investigate and launch investigations into every single person that Trump appoints to his cabinet or into his administration. You're automatically going to be a target for civil litigation. You're going to be in a political shitstorm over the Mueller investigation, which Republicans expect you to clamp down on, and Democrats expect you to continue. You've got the Spygate story out there. Again, Democrats want it blocked and want to call it a conspiracy theory. Republicans are pushing. They have all these investigations. They got criminal referrals. You have the IG working on his own thing. He's going to come forth with some information about FISA abuse and things. You're going to have to try to sort that out. You've got this rat Rodenstein sitting there. You got to decide what to do about this guy. You know he's crooked as hell. You've got all these other crooked players at the top level of the FBI and DOJ. You got to try to sort through that. What in the world would a guy like William Barr take on this job? Why would he take on this job? Why? Does he need this? I don't think so. No one needs that. Very interesting question. Now, I think I'll give you kind of the short answer why I think he took on the job. Bill Barr obviously lives in Washington. He's very connected to a lot of people. We know he's been watching the Mueller investigation very closely because he's written a couple letters and a couple of things that have been published about how he disagreed with the Mueller trying to work in this obstruction angle. He didn't really like that. He wrote several letters. In fact, he actually wrote letters to Rodenstein, taking issue with Uncle Bob digging into the obstruction part of things. But he's been sitting back watching the Spygate thing for a long time too. He knows a lot of people, and he's probably got inside sources, and he knows about all this kind of stuff that's been going on, the FISA warrants, the spying, the confidential informants. He knows all this stuff's been going on. He's just been sitting back watching all this. So why would he jump into the middle of all of this? And I kind of think, in a way, that what's going on here is that Barr is seeing all these things going on, and I think he looked at Sessions and looked at Rodenstein and thought, man, these people are weak, they're compromised, the Justice Department is looking like a clown show, the FBI is a clown show. Someone needs to go in there and straighten this thing out. And I think that's exactly why he decided to come in. I think he kind of sees himself as the guy who could come in and really straighten things out. I don't necessarily mean that he thinks he's the guy to come in and be Trump's right-hand man and kick butt on the conspiracy theory, on the conspiracies and Spygate. I don't think he came in to hang all the Spygate criminals per se. I think he came in because he believes he can restore integrity to the FBI and the DOJ. And he realizes he's probably going to have to break a few eggs to do that. And he's willing to do it. I think that's what I think. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I'd be interested in yours as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you. Bye.